Okay. This is how we're going to be talking most of the time. So how are you going to talk most of the time?
With my mouth.
This is how we're going to be talking most of the time. So how are you going to talk most of the time? Okay. That works. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices from the Mausoleum. In today's video, I have my sister Dena. And today, August 9th, is National Book Lovers Day. So I thought it would be fun to talk about horror books that got me and kept me interested in the genre. Because whenever I reference the sister that showed me horror movies I wasn't supposed to see, this is who I'm referencing. So, and I am visiting family for the weekend. So I thought it'd be fun to have her on and we can talk about all the books.
So basically what she's telling you is she's confessing to our mother, who's not too far away, of all the things I did that I wasn't supposed to. Thank you for that.
Yeah. I think we're both still in a place of like, if we were to be grounded, we'd probably listen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so unlike a lot of horror fans, I didn't actually start on Stephen King.
Nope.
Stephen King came later.
What's his name? R.L. Stein.
Yes.
We started with the Goosebumps series.
Goosebumps, yep.
We had to we read all the books.
Yep.
Went to the library, got more books.
Mm-hmm.
And then the movies came. Oh my goodness.
It was pretty exciting.
It was. I'm trying to think of
the first one that I remember seeing was The Mask, the Halloween one where she goes. I remember that was like super scary to me when it came out.
It was supposed to be her Halloween mask. She changed it. It wasn't so bad as we all watched it as a family. It was just like it was me, you, my husband, and I think Allie was there, and we watched them all.
Yeah.
And then I had to go out because she liked it so much and buy it on VHS. Did I tell you how long it's been? Because all the Goosebumps were on VHS back then.
Do you still have any of those? I have some of my Disney VHSs, but I don't have any.
I don't think so. I think when I gave up the VCRs, I donated. I gave them a VCR. So anyway, what had happened was.
Yeah, so Goosebumps was my gateway drug.
Yeah. And then we went from Goosebumps as you got a little bit older to Christopher Pike.
Who I loved. Yes, I love Christopher Pike. You were saying Christopher Pike now does.
He's actually instead of just teens, he's actually, the book we just downloaded is about a 12-year-old. So he's actually gone a little bit younger than
because he's more like young adult, whereas R.L. Stein was definitely more for kids.
Right. So he seems to be going a little bit younger with this series. Right now we're reading Rick Rhodes, which isn't along your speed, because the next thing for you came a person I had never heard of before, Atwater Rhodes.
Amelia Atwater Rhodes.
I like her remember it's Atwater and Roses.
Yeah, I found this. I don't even know actually how I found her, but
you found her.
Her name is Amelia Atwater Rhodes, and she wrote her very first book and was published at the age of 14. And I believe, if I remember correctly, it's a long time ago, the first book that she had published was a book called Midnight Predator.
Yep.
And that was like my first book that I ever read by her. And that one was about these vampires that literally had like basically these, for lack of a better term, like plantations. They had these big houses and mansions where they kept humans as slaves for all sorts of purposes. But it was very young adults, and she was very young, so it didn't have anything too crazy. But and then it's about this young girl who's like 14 or 15 years old named Turquoise, who's like a hunter, and she essentially allows herself to be captured so she can infiltrate this massive.
She did because I remember one. I think it might have been called Mirror.
Shattered Mirrors. The ones about the twins. Yeah.
So male and a female, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I am so proud of me. I'm sure as heck.
It was a long
time ago.
That's one of the ones we read out loud in the car.
Yeah. Long trips. Angel had to read because back then audiobooks weren't easy to come
And they weren't for everything. They were only for like really big stuff, really big published stuff.
I think my first audiobook was actually done on PBS radio because Tristan doesn't like music.
Mm-hmm.
So we listened to talk radio, and it was The Lovely Bones.
Oh.
That was the first book, and it was being played 30 minutes at a time on the PBS radio station.
So they would play it for 30 minutes and stop?
And then you'd have to tune in the next week to hear it. They don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
So you went from Atwater, Rhodes, then you started getting into Maggie Shane.
Okay, so fun fact about Maggie Shane, she's an erotica author. So when I was in middle school reading Maggie Shane, one of my teachers got my book because of the cover, which didn't mean anything to me because I was in middle school. I didn't know what that meant. And I would just skip those parts because back then they made me uncomfortable. But the thing is, she was a romance author, but she had a series of like Western romances and stuff. But she did supernatural stories, and they were really good. There was like a witch series, a vampire series, and maybe something else.
I just remember picking them up in the living room. It's like, Angel's here, look. They were all over the place.
And it's so funny because I wasn't even reading them like that. I just wanted the stories, like they were really good. And one of my favorite ones was a vampire one that had to do with like Egyptian reincarnation. And oh my God, it was so good. But I would just, when it would get to the sex part, I'd be like, it would make me so uncomfortable. I definitely got in trouble though at school because I remember a teacher being like, "You sure your parents know?" And I was like,
it's a book. They're just happy I'm reading.
I don't.
And back then, there was no parental guidance on the front of the book that said, "No, you can't buy this." So.
Yeah, and the truth is they probably did look like romance, but not all romance is erotica. So you don't really think. And it all had like witchy, like supernatural kind of things. So really, it wasn't like the ones with like the guys with like their chest out and like it wasn't any of that kind of stuff.
Which is really weird that you went the horror route because I do more of the sci-fi. I do Dorinda Jones. She did First Grave on the Right. Her newest one is her name is Sunshine, and it's one of those things where it's got just enough mythical stuff going on in the background to keep your attention. And because I am officially over 40, I started reading MJ, I think it's pronounced Can, Caan, and it's called Hex Over 40.
I feel like I've heard of that.
But she's got 3 of those, and it's about a woman who becomes the women in the line of being witches now don't get their powers until they're 40 and go through the chain.
Oh, that's cool.
So then they've raised their kids, they've hit their, what you've done all this stuff, so now you're a witch. And it's like, so
that's
now
you're cool.
It's almost like you're just learning everything all over again after 40.
Yeah. So, instead of it being like a teenager story where you like at 16 at midnight you get your powers or whatever.
Yeah, this one was, and it's not necessarily your 40th birthday. She's the woman and the main character at this point. She didn't get it until she's 45.
It's just after 40.
It's after 40.
That's pretty
She
neat.
thought she was going through the change because she was keeping headaches and all this kind of stuff. And then she goes home to visit her mom after things happen and come to find out she's a witch. And it's like, and then she goes to this town that does witches and has shifters. And
that's cool.
Now my son is really into shifters. And
shifters are,
which is, he's got one he listens to all the time, and I should be ashamed that he listened to. I got in trouble because my parents heard him listening to it. He doesn't read very well, so he listens to audiobooks, and it's it's the Phoenix Pack, and I don't remember who writes those.
I don't know.
It's on my phone over there, but
I don't know that one. Yeah.
But he loves shifters, any type of shifters. He was asking me today, "Mom, did you read Red Panda?" I was like, "I didn't read nothing." we listen to books in the car, so it just depends.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think like because eventually you had all the Christopher Pike books. Like you had like
yes,
What's the main one though? That was like, forget me, no, bury me, don't for. It's like 2 words. Oh my God! It was
not "Don't Forgive Me." It may be "Bury Me."
It ended up being like 2 or 3 books, but it was like one of the best. Like when people heard of him, like that's was the one
you knew of.
And I can't think of what it is now. But Christopher Pike
it was think it was just Bury Me Deep.
Bury Me Deep. Okay, so it's three
Because
verses.
it's Bury Me Deep. I knew it had to be Bury Me Deep because then it's The Light in My Bones.
Yeah, there's three of them. I remembered there was three, but I couldn't remember all the names. It's been a long time. And Christopher Pike is a pen name. He actually writes under another name in a different subgenre, I think.
I have no idea.
But Christopher Pike is a pen name he chose from Star Trek. Oh, I can't remember.
I don't remember.
But anyway, yeah, and then and eventually it did turn into more. We did eventually get to Stephen King.
Yeah. So your favorite at that point when we got to Stephen King was dun 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 Pet Sematary. Oh my goodness. I just knew when she had her child I was gonna have a nephew named Gage. Isn't that his name?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
You know what's funny? So everybody told me that like going into motherhood that was gonna change my ability to watch stuff that had to do with kids. And I was like, I'm sure that's probably true on some level. Could not have been prepared. I tried to watch the remake. And I got to the very beginning of it when you see the first truck, and I was like, I turned it off. I was like, I totally forgot that was how this started. Can't do it. Cut it off.
Mm-hmm. That was, you had the VHS. I think I ended up having to buy 2 of the VHS movies because you and Allie watched it so much.
Ran through it.
That you broke the VHS tape.
You know what I remember? I remember one time I went to, was it Valley Video? Was that the one you still went to go to? I remember one time we went to, back in the day, we went to the video store like every time I came over, whatever. And we got one time that was like a dark Rumpelstiltskin. And the guy at the register was like, just so you know, this is like really bad. And she ended up having, because I was really young. I remember like you had to go put it back because it had, I think it had like rape in it and some other things. So it was like, oh,
okay.
I was too young for that one.
Yeah.
But I always tell, because like whenever people talk about like their, how they get into horror, how did they, whatever, I always say that like I remember things from before, but it really grew because we would always watch that stuff together. And that like you were the one that would take me to do the Scream movies when they came out and and like all of those. And it's just it's such a huge influence on like my love for it because you were the only person. And so now like I'm the only, I think because I was here was the reason you went to see Black Phone.
Yeah.
And we talked about like wanting to see stuff and like making plans to see stuff because like I don't have anybody to go see them with, and she doesn't really either. I mean, Amy would go with you for some of them. She would
go. The big thing for me is I always end up at the kid movies. And,
I know what you mean.
The Marvel movies, and so. And I don't even get to watch that kind of stuff at home because of Tristan having autism. He just don't want anything to do with it. So it makes it really hard. If he sees it on TV, he freaks.
It makes him really
just imagine if he would have sat down to play the video game D when we first.
I just recently talked about this game. So there was like a thing on Twitter the other day that was like, what's like the scariest moment?
Oh my.
And I always say the scariest one was, I'm sure you remember this, when y'all got Resident Evil, I would play the mansion all the way to the first zombie, and then I would cut it off and start it over because I got so scared I couldn't do the zombie. When he's
down on the floor.
When he's like that first scene when you cut the corner and you see the first zombie. But the other one that I remembered that I didn't specifically play, I don't think I actually played it, but I watched Jeff play, was the game D, which stood for Dracula. But it was like this really cool, like it was like puzzles and stuff, right? I'm trying to remember.
It was, matter of fact, when we played it in the dark. The PlayStation had just came out.
and I think it had a lot of deaths and stuff too. Like you could die.
The screen would go black, and then all of a sudden you'd see this weird mirror come up with a little girl in it, and she'd start laughing at you, and
because you failed. Yeah,
you just scream.
And there was like one, I remember, I think it had a couple of endings because I also remember a scene where it wasn't like you beat the game, but there was a scene where you got dragged into like a throne room looking thing. And it was
we have never been able to find that game again. And it was one of those things, the only reason we bought it is because it was $10.99 at Walmart when we bought
the first PlayStation.
So we bought the Resident Evil and that the same night.
Yeah.
I think we rolled quarters and stuff, and all jumped in the car, went and bought it, and then came home and started playing. I think we all stayed up all night long. I had all the kids up. I just knew.
Yeah.
I was going to send all y'all home.
I mean, just scared out of our minds. I'm a huge Resident Evil fan, and it starts from that first game.
I love Resident Evil.
And when I tell people about D, a lot of people don't even know that one. I'm like, but I just assumed that people who played horror games like Resident Evil would know that one because they were out at the same time.
But it's two different ways of playing. Resident Evil is a lot of killing,
a lot more action,
there's
survival
action,
stuff.
There
it's a little
is
different.
Puzzles, whereas D was was way before its time because
yeah,
that particular game is as good as a horror game as it is. When I play PlayStation now, where you choose your directions to go in those horror games as well. That's what D was. The only difference is D, it would tell you something and it would say you want to go left or right, and then the screen goes black and it does that thing where the door creaks open and it's
so
like
good.
And it was, for the time, it was unbelievable because that had to have been, let's see, 96, 97, somewhere. It was early.
And I remember the other thing about D2 was that's where my trust issues with horror games come from because it would show you things like it would show you those knights that stood in the hall and you're like,
not sure about that. Are they gonna move?
Like we're going left. Like I don't, but I remember like distinctly like sitting through that, and that game was terrifying.
I think you were sitting behind us on the couch and we had ended up in the floor and you were like and I think every single one of us, when the doors would open, we'd be like
trying to look around.
Can you see it coming? And then it's like, I'm scared. And then the next thing you know, you want to watch Poltergeist? It's like, wait a minute, what? Let's do one scary thing.
I need a break. Let's watch something. Let's watch The Simpsons.
It's like if you give her Beauty and the Beast, that's all well and good, but as soon as that's over, okay, I've done the girly thing. Well, let's move on.
Yeah. It's crazy because like when I think, because so many people like really did start with Stephen King, and I didn't get into Stephen King until much later.
I'll be honest, I've only read Pet Sematary and It. Everything else I've ever read has been, I don't read the horror. I like I said, I do more sci-fi, and I'll do the vampires. Jim Butcher, who does the Dresden Files, I do those kind. But once I hit Christopher Pike, I think I read everything he ever did. And I did Atwater, Rhodes and everything she did. And then I read It, and I read Pet Sematary because you brought me the paperback that you read. And you kept asking me questions, so I didn't have a choice. It's like, I'm going to answer the questions correctly.
Yeah, God, I remember that too. And there was two versions of the Pet Sematary book because there was the original and then there was the cover from the movie.
Right.
Eventually they had the cover with the eyes on the front of the cover or whatever.
And I will tell you, I have learned some movies I don't want to see because the books are so much better.
You just know they're not going to touch it.
The whole time sometimes when I'm watching movies, it's like, I've read this book. This is just wrong. Fix it.
Yeah.
So it's in one set of books I will listen to over, and it could just be because it's Jim Dale and he is just an awesome reader, is Harry Potter. And that's because it's got that little bit of fantasy in it. Yeah. But there's just enough to, and I love to hear him read. He's a really, really good reader.
I don't think I've heard that. I haven't done a ton of audiobooks, so I don't think I've heard them.
I've got 7 on my phone right now. I'm not only that, but
you're a paperback person too.
I have my paperback. These aren't electronic ebooks to read because I feel people are like, why are you on your phones? Because I'm reading a book. It's like, no, man, you ain't reading a book until you smell it.
I know. I gotta smell it. I'm the same
smell
way.
It. You gotta. It's like, why waste your money, girl? That's what Second Charles is for.
Yeah.
Go buy the cheap books, and sometimes if you go by your libraries, they have a lot of them for sale.
That's
pull
true.
Off their shelves. That's where I get a lot of the stuff that y'all used to read, Christopher Pike and all that. When the libraries would have sales, that's where I'd go and get all that stuff. Yeah. And then I'd always talk to the librarian. It's like, hey, what's coming out now? So like, is it Sandra Moss that did the? She did. I think it's Moss, M-A-S-S. There's another one that Holly Black. Tristan likes Holly Black.
Holly Black did that book Tithe, right? Was that her? It's about fairies.
I think so. But she also did a series.
It was like a short, chunky book, but it was thick.
She also did a series called the Black Cat, the White Cat. But it's really good. And I hate that I'm having to look it up because
no, you're fine.
Tristan and I love. The thing is,
I remember Tithe. Because I remember, and I might be wrong. That might not be Holly Black, but I was thinking it was for some reason.
Okay, so let's see. Where's it She did the Spiderwick Chronicles.
Spiderwick Chronicles. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. That's one of my. I love that story.
I love just about anything she does, but she has the red glove, and there's the white glove, and the white cat. Anyway, it's the whole thing is good. And again, there's a really good reader. The Coldest Girl in Old Town is really good. Cold Town is really good too. I'm telling you, I've read all these. I've read
Tithe.
Yep,
I wasn't crazy.
I want to say,
you know what we haven't mentioned? Wicked Lovely.
Oh, I like that one too.
That's to date my favorite series.
That was a good series
of books. It's so the name of the series is the Wicked Lovely series, and it's written by Melissa Marr, Marr. But I will say we started at the second book, which is Ink Exchange. Mm-hmm. And then we read Wicked Lovely, and then the rest of them. And I was so into this series that I remember when the fourth book came out, it came out as an ebook first.
And then a hardback.
And then the hard, but I couldn't wait. So I paid to read it on my phone, and I finished it like that. Like I was so into that series, and the last book was so good. She has two more that are, one of them is supposed to come out this year. That's, I guess, like a branch off from that. And then she has one that's like a mixed, like short stories that I think were ideas that just didn't get put in the book.
Yeah.
And then she has the Desert Tales, which is fae as well, but it's different storylines, not related to the Summer King and the Dark King and all that. But it's a story about fae. And what I honestly loved about it, aside from its originality, is she came from writing clean summer romance novels, and when she wrote Wicked Lovely, she was really trying to like do something else. And when she does Wicked Lovely, it very much reads like a summer romance, but then you get to Ink Exchange, yep. And you're just like, holy shit.
It was one of those things when you read Ink Exchange and then you went backwards, it was kind of like, weird. Is this even the same person?
Yes, exactly.
And then it was like, okay, then you get to the rest of them, it's like, okay, so you can see. But see, that's just like me reading your stuff over the years. When I remember the first couple of stories I ever got, there were so many references to the exact name brand of what somebody was wearing. It's like, Angel, you just need to kind of tell us what they look. Give us more. We were getting that, but that's back then. That's what it was. Is everybody was all about the name brand, and now it's more of the feeling you get when you look at the person, not necessarily
what they physically.
Because to me, if you give me their air and a good description of the things around them, I'm going to get a better look at how I feel the person is instead of they wore Guess jeans.
I wouldn't guess. It was like Tommy Hilfiger.
Is that what it was?
I think so. I remember that conversation.
It's like, you gotta.
That was one of my first stories. Mm-hmm. And then I remember and then we would write back and forth too.
Yeah, we had a book for a long time that I would write a page, and then I'd pass it to you. You'd write a page, and the next time I saw you, we'd go back and forth. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because it was two major different ways of writing. It was just a difference between the age, because we're 12 years apart.
Yeah.
So. Which my mom was nice enough to point that out today. You know, you're 6 years older than your brother, and your brother's 6 years older than Angel's. Like, well, that just makes me 12 years older than her. That's just so unfair.
Yeah.
But then again, if I wouldn't have been, you wouldn't have been introduced to all
life
that.
Would have been so different. Yeah, my life would have been so different.
Could you imagine growing up, listening, reading love stories? Because I remember the one time we read what are those twins called? Sweet Valley High.
Oh my God.
We had been listening to Christopher. We had been reading Christopher Pike.
It was like the other stories, like not Babysitter's Club, but it was the other stories. So
Babysitter's Club would have been equal to R.L. Stine. Christopher Pike was equal to Sweet, because it all came out at the same time. So I think when I bought books one time, I got a Sweet Valley, and we started reading, and it was like, no. I think she might have read the first chapter, and it was like, no. So I think we were getting ready to go somewhere. We had to stop and buy a different book.
That's awful.
Because back then, they didn't have audiobooks, so whoever was in the car had to take turns reading. Angel loves to read, so it was just, and if she can get the voices right, she will do her own voices to read out loud.
Yeah. My reading slowed down dramatically. Like when I started meeting more people that are writers, I was like, I need to get back into because like it was almost to the point where like I didn't even know what I was into anymore because like I hadn't read in so long, and for years now I haven't had a commute, so there's no audiobooks that are, you know, for me, like I just have the time for audiobooks because once I'm at home with a kid, there's no listening to audiobooks. And then I recently like just started reading, and what I've learned is interesting because, you know, I've read Anne Rice too. But Anne Rice had phenomenal stories with a lot of useless information. And that was one of the things that like I'm learning about myself, that like people love that. There are plenty of people who want to read 7 pages about how a leaf fell from a tree. I'm not it. Like I'm not the target audience for those books. And they can be beautifully written and you can be like, oh my God, this is so beautifully written. What is the point? Like it's like I need things to move. Like I need my stories
almost
to move.
like what you want is you want that version, but you also want the Cliff Note abridged version where you take all that out and give me the conversations, the guts,
the conversations.
Explain
for sure
what that little murder scene looked like. He was hanging from what?
Right.
With who?
Right.
And there was a hook. Where?
Yeah.
Not
yeah.
The hook was silver and it hang with the dry like
rose
petal blood drops.
I know, like I don't. Yeah.
There's nothing. There
sweat like beads of glass. I don't give a shit if I was sweat glands. Let's move it along. Yeah, and I will say, what you're exactly right though. I'm a sucker for conversation and books.
Me too.
I'm definitely like I just admit it. I definitely am somebody who will skip paragraphs down to the conversations.
Apparently, I taught her that because I do the exact. I think that's one of the reasons why when I get books, I finish them so fast, and I only collect certain authors.
Yeah.
And for what I listen to, I have all of Donna Kaufman, and I never in a million years would have thought I'd read. But she's a romance thing, and she has one called The Cinderella Rules, and that's where it started. Then I have Janet Ivanovich, but I don't read certain ones. But I have all of hers that she redid in the late 90s, early 2000s. Because they're quick reads and they're funny. And then all of a sudden, in the middle of all that, the absolute best book that I make everybody read that's a girl in my family, if I can get them to, is Say Goodnight, Gracie. That's my favorite.
That's a great book.
And then
rip your heart out, but it's
good.
Good.
Well, and then of course, you know, and then I get now that I'm older, I'm listening and reading Carolyn Brown. And what's weird about that is it's quirky, funny. My favorite one is The Ladies' Room, and it starts out with an over 40s woman who's sitting on a toilet at a funeral who's got a run in her pantyhose. And I like to think, and the first time I ever heard of this, like if I went to church and I wore pantyhose, that would probably be me. But and what's so funny is Tristan enjoys this because there's just enough humor in it and enough conversation.
Yeah.
And there's hardly anything in it that describes anything. It's really weird. Even the Shifter books he's listening to, it's really weird how it's like once the action starts, it doesn't stop.
Yeah.
And I will say in those type of books, though, you do have the erotica, and I'm sitting there hitting the button. And he's like, Mom, I'm an adult. It's like, just stop, Mom. I know. It's like, no. That's the only problem with audiobooks is you're not exactly sure what's fixing
until it gets to that point.
Yes.
We also did City of Ash.
City of
Bone
Glass, Bone. That was Cassandra Clare. Right?
Cassandra Clare. And then what was the
Clockwork ones came after that?
Yeah. What was the other one that was like fairy tales, like sci-fi fairy tales? Oh my God.
There are so many.
Cinder
was good. Cinder, Scarlet. There's Cinder, Scarlet. Then the Rapunzel one.
There's like 4 or 5 of them.
There's 4, and then they came out with the 5th one, which is the tale of the stepmother who started it all.
Winter.
Yeah.
Winter's one of them.
Because basically it's Cinderella, Red Riding Hood, Rapunzel, and
Snow White,
and
then the evil queen.
Mm-hmm.
So good.
Yep.
Not so much horror, but definitely like sci-fi fairy tales, which is so good. Cinder was remarkable.
Really,
that one was so good. When I got to because you read those first and gave me at least the first one, and I think I may have bought the other ones after the fact. But when I started reading it and I got to the part where she was like a cyborg, I was in. I was like, oh, I'm in.
As a matter of fact, we just re-listened to that one.
Oh man, Cinder was good.
Because she falls in love with the prince, and it's just one of those things where it's not it's a love story, but it's not.
It's
love story.
It's a rebellion story.
It's a rebellion story,
Yeah.
and it's really cool how she brings Cinder into Scarlet, but it's Scarlet's story, and then she brings Cinder and Scarlet
into Winter.
Yeah,
Or I'm sorry, Rapunzel.
Rapunzel, and same thing, and then they bring it in, but it's just amazing how she goes. And you got the big bad wolf,
and Red Riding Hood is a hacker.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, she's also a pilot too.
And she's a pilot. That's super cool series.
I think the hacker was Rapunzel.
Oh, maybe I might go wrong then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rapunzel. Maybe Rapunzel was before Scarlet then.
Scarlet, because in the new book, she has a new book out
Mm-hmm.
that tells the story of Scarlet when she was a child.
Oh.
And it teaches you how Cinder came to be and who took care of her and how she got to where she was. And it's all the questions you had from reading the books.
But weren't really mad that you had the questions because
Right.
the story was so fulfilling. Because the big bad wolf is like a street fighter or something, right?
Yeah.
Like a boxer or
Yeah.
something.
Mm-hmm.
So good. That was a really good series.
Mm-hmm. There are just so many. You can do it. I can go for days. With it. And what's so bad is I'm 46 years old and I'm listening to Grace Kim, which Rick Rhoden, who did all of the Percy Jackson.
Oh,
and
yeah.
He did all of the God books. He is, it's not really sponsoring, but promoting this. The way I found it, I thought it was him because the cover was the same.
Oh, okay.
So, but she is now doing one in this Korean mythology, but she wrote it and it's actually pretty good. And once again, they're 13, but people look at me like, it's like, yeah, it's for my kid. Nope. It's for me.
Yeah. Who cares?
And then I listen to young adult. I'll pretty much listen to anything once. The only one I don't like into this day, is called White Noise. My son loved it. It creeped me out.
Was it supposed to creep you out?
Yes.
Oh. I didn't know if it was like one of those things.
Tristan he'll say, "Mom, you want to listen to White Noise again?" Nope. Mm-mm.
What was it about? It's like paranormal?
I couldn't even tell you, but it was paranormal. It's about 4 people, and then at the very end, you're like, I just spent 12 hours listening to this. This scared the crap out of me, and I have no idea what just happened. And as many books as I can remember, I cannot remember that one.
Weird.
You
blocked it out.
I guess so. I was like, oh, good grief. Tristan's like, you want to hear it again? It's like, nope.
I'm trying to think of like a book that actually at least in my adult life that actually scared me. I don't know if I have one. I think
White Noise is mine.
Yeah.
White Noise is
I'm trying to think.
mine.
I'm sure the other ones when I read them when I was younger freaked me out, but as an adult, I can't think of anything I've read that's actually legitimately
I think I kind
of
of hardened you too quickly at the beginning.
Maybe that's what it is.
It's like he stabbed him in the what? Oh, that ain't no big deal. I could have come up with something better. A knife.
Yeah.
Who needs a knife? We could have used a rod.
I know. Talk about a growing imagination. Yeah, I don't know. I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
That's the one thing you have to do for every child is their imagination. Because if you don't have an imagination, it's really hard to read a book and it not read like stereo instructions.
That's true.
Because otherwise,
we always talk about how like one of the most effective things when you're reading horror or watching horror is giving just enough information to start an imagination.
Yeah.
And then let it go wild.
Oh yeah.
Because then it's like you create all these things in your head. You're just like you freak yourself out.
And you know it's a good book when your commute from work to home was only 10 minutes, but it took you 30. And then you just creeped up the driveway at 2 miles an hour because somebody's fixing to die. You're gonna die. And you're sitting there and your husband's sitting on the porch. It's like 2 more minutes. Somebody's fixing to die. Everybody's got out in the car. Groceries are in the back, but that's how you know it's a good book. It's like,
that's true.
Just give me 2 more. Or when you're trying to read at night and your contacts are dry like sandpaper and they should have been taken out 20 minutes ago. Your dogs are wanting, I have new puppies. So all my books, when I start reading at night, it's like I have claw marks for my attention because they'll put their paws in my books and they ate one of my new books. It's like, no. So I have to read my office now because they eat my books because I pay too much. Once I get into it, I like a book when I'm in a whole nother world. It's like, and then somebody brings you back to reality and it's like,
I don't want to.
I'd rather be in a book than watch TV.
Yeah.
There's nothing. What's the point of watching reality TV with as many books as we have? Who cares who's dating who?
Yeah.
That man's going to die in that book. That woman's going to get married and find her the love of her life, and we don't have a clue whose kid that is. Well, I just told you the plot for the next 4 soap operas for the next 2 weeks.
I know. Yeah.
But I just read 5 books with better endings and
better stuff going on.
Yeah.
I think the other way to tell too, and something that's really good when you're reading the physical media is like I read one of my friends that I met through another friend on Twitter. He writes, and his stories are they're like creature feature action. Well, the ones I've done so far are creature feature action books. They're very, very fast paced, and they're really cool and very unique. And I went to read the second one. I was late starting it because I was trying to read it in time to get ready to read the third one that was just coming out. And I started it. O was outside playing with it in his Jeep or something. So I was sitting outside with him and I was reading, and we were only outside. We were, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes. And I was almost completely finished with it. Cause I was just I just kept going. And by the time I got like back inside, I was like, oh my God, I made a huge dent in this book.
The best part to me sometimes is when you're so into the conversation that you finish the book because you've skipped everything because the dialogue between the characters
is just so captivating.
Good. It's like, I know she didn't. Yes, she did. Oh, here comes another one. And it's like, bam, bam. And then next thing you know, it's like, now what am I going to read?
Did you watch Penny Dreadful?
No, I don't get to watch much TV.
I was only asking because talking about conversation, so I didn't watch it either, but I someone else there's like a really big fan of it said that the conversations in that series are so like compelling and engaging. Like there's apparently a conversation with Eva Green's character. I don't remember her name, and a Frankenstein monster. And it's this huge conversation about life and death, but it was like one of the most, oh my God, like it was just so good. I was just curious. I was going to ask you if you had seen that.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
Right now, the main things that, of course, zombies. So I'm waiting for the last episode of The Walking Dead. Stranger. I don't get to watch TV a whole lot that I'm not watching the news or because now that I work from home, it's just weird.
Yeah.
So,
you're caught up on Stranger Things? Is that what you're about to say? I'm not. I haven't seen the newest season.
So
I'm not emotionally available.
a huge Dustin fan.
Me too.
And he has a movie now called Honor
I
Society.
saw that.
And because he's not playing Dustin, I have not been able to bring myself to.
You know what might be a good bridge into it is he did a show on Netflix that only has 1 season, and it's a horror prank show similar to the one with Shannon Doherty, whatever her name is. What was it called? Where they would prank people. They would set them up and make them think they were in this crazy situation.
Yeah.
But it wasn't real.
I got you.
Anyway, but he has a show like that, and it's really cute. And the people, when they see him, they know who he is, and then sometimes they don't. So then it takes them even longer to realize that it's fake. But they did one where they put some really short people in a bear and made the bear move around for this babysitter. And it's just really
I will tell
funny.
you what really messed me up.
It's really funny.
Freddy Fazbear. Those
Five
Nights
at
Oh
Freddy's.
my Lord. The first time Tristan's like, Mom, we're going to listen to these books. I'm like, okay.
Oh, I had forgot about the books. Yeah.
So
I forgot.
I didn't know who Freddy was. I
you didn't know about the games?
Mm-mm.
Oh.
I didn't know about Freddy. And
pretty creepy.
I had no idea that that there was a dead kid in Freddy's suit. I had no. I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, what the hell is he having me? It to me, Freddy Fazbear was actually scarier than Christopher Pike, but it was meant to be between Goosebumps and Christopher Pike.
Sure.
But the whole series, a good series. I mean, if you like horror and especially if you have kids that like horror, it's a really good series because it makes you think. And then he's like, Mama, there's another one. It's like, okay. Mama, there's another one. It's like, okay. And matter of fact, today he was wearing the shirt you made him, the Freddy Fazbear shirt. He's like, I have to wear this, and Angel made it for me. And I had no idea especially for that to be considered, to me, I thought it was a kid's book because it's really
the games are not really. I mean,
but
there's not a lot of gore or language.
But they're
in the games,
they're considered young adult.
Okay.
They're considered
content wise, that kind of makes
12,
sense. I think
13-year-old, because the kids that are killed in the book. Of course, I'm one of those who didn't like going to showbiz because all I could think. And of course, you left my child. He was 1. And I found my kid in one end and Angel somewhere else because somebody came out in a Chuck E. Cheese costume.
Yeah.
So
I don't do like those dress up things. And whenever people like, not you, but like when other people have given me a hard time about that, I'm like, right, because I'm the weird one that doesn't want my picture taken with a giant gray rat. Excuse me. That sings and gives you pizza. No thanks. I'm good, sir.
My only problem was she's like, oh, I'll watch him. So I went to the bathroom.
We were having a good time too until that fucking thing showed up. And I was like, be free.
I found Tristan, and then a few minutes later, I was like, what happened? All she said was Chucky. And I'm thinking the doll.
Chuck E. Cheese. Yeah. Oh, that's right.
You could come after her dressed as Chucky, the doll, with the knife, the whole 9 yards, and she's going to be like, come to mama. Come wrestle like a giant rat.
I remember one time we were in Walmart. I was probably a teenager, and they had like, because I don't do clowns either. Mm-hmm. And I remember there was a clown in Walmart, like I guess maybe by the McDonald's or something. I can't remember. Anyway, but I remember like I wanted to leave so badly.
I think if I remember correctly, we actually had to go through the other door when we left because they were still down there.
I can't that stuff. So I mean, I can handle clowns now, but like
she was like Pennywise. He's just going to get him. No.
Well, and the clown that messed me up the most to start with
was Ronald McDonald.
Well, no, was the clown doll from Poltergeist. And then it just got worse.
My porcelain dolls had to be put up too.
Well, you shouldn't have those. Like that shouldn't even be a thing.
I do.
Oh God. Yeah.
Mommy.
I need 1 minute.
Please.
1 minute or not at all.
What you are hearing is him begging, which is the sounds that Angel would make at Barnes and Noble's when a new book came out and she really, really wanted it. Dena, just this one. Wait, there's another one. This one was on the clearance table. It's got to be good.
What about this one?
Look at the cover of this one. It's like we can't just look at the cover.
I am a sucker for covers,
yep.
Even as an adult.
Well, see, I've learned that they reuse the covers. So they do.
So happy National Book Lovers Day.
That's right. Love a book. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
I do.
That's all I have for this one. Hope you guys have a good rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you in the next one.
I'll just watch it.